What's up, everybody? Louie here for another fun week of fights. We got UFC Vegas 35 with main event Edson Barboza taking on Giga Chiricah. Huge match at featherweight. And then you got the Ultimate Fighter finales, which will be fun. A couple stars maybe born, seeing how their careers go. And then you got Kevin Lee taking on Daniel Rodriguez in his return, upweight class at 170. Great matchup. And then, of course, you got Jake Paul versus Tyron Woodley on Sunday, which I'm going to as of right now. Can't wait. Hopefully do something for like a recap or something. Maybe get some pictures, a couple videos if possible. But, it's a really exciting weekend of fights here. And then, September, more good stuff coming up. Next month, you got Volkanovski taking on Ortega. And then October, November are going to be stacked. So things are going to pick up here a little bit. It's been a little lull for UFC, but you got some exciting things happening in the fight world outside of the organization. Last weekend I did all right, winning record, a couple mistakes, but they're all pretty close fights. I picked Cannonier correctly. There's some back and forth ones, but it is what it is. Just looking forward, looking ahead. There's a lot of good spots on this card, a lot of big underdogs, a lot of chaos on this card. So happy to get into it. Let's get these picks. Let's get this motivated on the prelims. Banger at middleweight 185. You got Sam Alvey, smiling Sam Alvey taking on Wellington Turman. Alvey last fight took on Julian Marquez. First round of that fight, he skirts along the fence the whole time. Marquez is pressuring him, and Alvey basically just looks to counter the whole fight. Eats combinations, gets rocks as he's coming forward, throw a punch, but then he lands a combination coming off of the fence, catches Marquez coming in, or he rocks Marquez with the lead right hook, and then a cross. In the second round, he lands a counter right hook off of Marquez's jab, but then he gets rocked with a straight right, and then a flurry with hooks on the fence. Marquez threw some hard hooks on him, and then he gets dropped with the left hook, and he shoots a desperation double leg, but he eats a hammer fist when he's in on the leg, and then Marquez gets the rear naked choke with no hooks, just kind of off scramble, and Alvey gives a sleep. Good showing from him, but Marquez got it done. Then Wellington Turman, his last fight, he took on newcomer Bruno Silva. First round, shoots a single leg, and he gets around the back, and he gets hooks in, but he's good position, but he does it too fast, and Silva's able to reverse the position. But however, he's able to use a Kimura, and then he gets the front headlock, and he's able to get around his back standing position. And then he's able to get a backpack position on Silva, but again, Russian position is too high, and he slides off. But then he eventually gets into full guard, and with Bruno Silva on top of him, and then he eats heavy ground and pound, and just gets knocked the hell out. Silva hits really hard, and Turman just wasn't in a good position. Take a look at the betting lines. Alvey plus 110, Turman minus 130. Turman's chin is really bad. Alvey's chin is decent. I think Turman's going to be able to get Sam Alvey down probably at some point, but, I think Alvey will be able to get up or mitigate the damage, or, he might not even be able to get taken down. Alvey does still hit hard, so, and, plus money. My pick here is Sam Alvey. In the prelims, 185, you got a fun fight. Alicia Dashiriko taking on Abdul Razakal Hassan. Dashiriko had the famous win against Joaquin Buckley's last fight. That fight, he gets walked down, but he lands leg kicks and then a counter right as Buckley's moving forward. And then he backs up and pumps his jab, and then he gets a knockout with the head kick as Buckley's dipping levels. Timed it perfectly and just caught Buckley coming in. A great knockout for him. And then before that, he took on Zach Cummings. In the first round, he lands a hard right, and then a 1-2 as Sam rushes forward. He lands a hook as Zach exits in the exchange, and then he lands a short left hook, and then another elbow. And in the second round, he hits him with a straight right at range. He eats a jab as he's throwing left hook, though, but he eats a head kick and then a left hook as he's moving forward. So he eats some shots, but he eats a body shot and then a leg kick, and then he misses his right. He misses the right hook a few times, swings a little wild. Third round, he lands left hook as Zach's stalking forward. He presses, but he eats left hook as he's moving forward. He lands a counter straight right and then a left hook. And then he eats a counter left hook after he throws. And then he eats punches as he's rushing forward. He eats a straight right and then blitzes with hooks. But then he gets dropped with a head kick in like the final 10 seconds of the fight. So, he looked good there up until the end where he just got a little overzealous. But, his last fight, he looked a lot more patient against Buckley. And then he's taking on Abdul Razakal Hassan. He took on Jacob Malkoun his last fight. A masterful performance from him. First round, he gets masterful performance from Jacob Malkoun in the first round. Abdul gets taken down with the single leg immediately, and then he gets out, but then he gets taken down again with the single to a body lock. He lands a few body kicks as he's up on the feet, but that's about it. Second round, he gets taken down with a high single against the fence, and then he gets put in side control, and then he gets an anaconda attempt. Gets put in an anaconda attempt by Abdul. So Abdul, basically just doing whatever he wanted on top. Then he's able to get to his feet, but he lands a few body kicks as Jake is stalking forward. Then the third round, he gets taken down with a single up against the fence again, but then Jake's able to get half guard, but then gets out back on the feet. He lands a 1-2 as Jake is moving in, but then he gets pressed to the fence. He eats a jab, and then he gets shot on with a high single, and then gets taken down after a struggle toward the end of the fight. And Abdul is plus 195. Alicia is minus 240. Don't like the price on Alicia, but Abdul, his fight before that, he took on Phil Hawes, who got knocked out. I think he's a busted prospect in my opinion. Don't like the price on Alicia, but he come off 3 losses. They were competitive, and we know he has knockout power. And if he has any type of grappling, Abdul is gonna be useless. And it is what it is. I mean, Abdul can land a crazy shot, but plus 195 isn't enough for me. And I think Alicia has some decent momentum. I guess I'll go with Alicia. And then the first fight on the main card, 185, you got Magomed Muradov taking on Gerald Meerschaert. Do or die for Meerschaert here, basically. Muradov took on Andrew Sanchez his last fight. In the first round, he stuffs a single leg, and then he lands a 1-2, and then he lands an overhand right, but he gets hit with the 1-2 as he's circling away. And then he lands a 1-2 with hooks as Sanchez crashes forward into him. He lands a 1-2, and then he shoots a single leg. In the second round, he gets hit with the 1-2 against the fence, but then he stuffs a single leg attempt against the fence. Then he lands a jab as he's backing up away from Sanchez. And then he lands a 1-2, and he presses forward, and then he lands a hard right hook in a firefight exchange. Third round, he comes forward and lands an overhand right, and then he lands a right and an uppercut, and then another right to the body. He eats a 1-2 from Sanchez, but he's able to rock him with the overhand right off the counter, and then he rocks overhand right, and then he lands a flurry up against the fence, and then he gets the knockout. So he just needs one punch, and he can get you. And he might need a couple shots, but he's looking to place the perfect shot, which he can do. Then Meerschaert, he took on Bartosz Fabinski his last fight. First round, he lands a straight left, gets clinched, but lands a hook on the exit of the clinch. And then he gets the clinch against the fence. He gets taken down against the fence, but he applies the guillotine and gets a submission. Fabinski just a little overzealous with that. Meerschaert looked really good that fight, but the fight before that, he took on Khamzat Chimaev. He got knocked out with 1 punch. And then before that, he took on Ian Heinisch. He got knocked out by him. And that loss looks bad. Ian Heinisch, I forget the guy's name, but Ian Heinisch just lost to a lower level guy. Sorry, I forgot his name. And he got knocked out too, so that loss doesn't look too good. And, Meerschaert has a really bad chin. Now, the price, this is what I don't like. Meerschaert's plus 450. Magomed is minus 630, money line. I don't like that price, and I thought long and hard about it. This is just one of those things where the big favorite is probably going to win. You just have to pray that he does win. You got to bite the bullet. I would say Meerschaert's a live dog, and he is, but his chin is just terrible. And, his last fight against Khamzat, he showed absolutely nothing. But Magomed by knockout is minus 175, so that could be a play. I don't necessarily know Meerschaert will get knocked out, but it's likely. I think he'll at least get rocked. It really sucks, and I might be wrong. And this is a hard one for me, but my pick here is Magomed Muradov. Second fight on the main card, 185. You got Andre Petrachi taking on Michael Gilmore. This is an Ultimate Fighter matchup. Petrachi, on the show, he took on Brian Battle last. First round, he blitzes and gets a single leg in the air, and he presses him to the fence, but he's unable to get down. Battle, decent takedown defense. He gets hit with counter hooks as he's entering to strike with him. He gets the takedown with the single as Brian moves forward, and then he lands a hard elbow in the clinch, but he eats a couple knees to the head. Battle was using that tie clinch, but he gets a single leg from space, but Brian is able to get right back up after the takedown. He's able to get the mat return, and he gets some back control, and then he's able to work in the rear naked choke position. Then he maintains the position through some scrambles and lands some nice ground and pound and gets a full mount, so there's good ground control there. But then in the second round, he eats a combination. When Brian blitzes towards him, he lands a counter overhand right, but he eats a head kick and then a straight right, and he comes forward on Brian with the 1-2, but he gets backed up with hooks, and he eats some knees to the body in the tie clinch as the previous round. And then you can just notice he gets noticeably more exhausted this round. Looks to be a run-around fighter, sort of. And then he eats straight shots at range. He gets a desperate single takedown, but Brian is right back on his feet, and Andre is able to maintain the clinch, but unable to get a takedown, which tires him out more. And then Brian is able to get the Darce choke whenever Andre goes for the trip, and then he's able to get on top of Andre and then submit Andre with that Darce choke, mostly due to exhaustion and just sticking his neck out there when it shouldn't have been. That's why I think Brian got that Darce on him. And Michael Gilmore, his last fight on the show, he took on Gilberto Bena. Not much to talk about here. He gets taken down immediately with the single leg, and then he gives up the backpack position standing. Then they get back on the mat, gets the rear naked. Urbina's able to get the rear naked choke position. He eats some ground and pound, then gets submitted with the rear naked choke. Came on short notice, whatever, but looked pretty bad. And then before that, he took on Perry Stargell. First round, he gets hit with the uppercut, but he lands a straight right. His kick is caught, and he gets taken down, and then he's able to get back to his feet, but he gives up standing back control for the rest of the round and just gets controlled. Didn't get beat up too bad, but definitely lost. Second round, lands heavy leg kicks as Stargell moves forward. He eats a 1-2 and then retreats, but then he's able to drop Stargell with the leg kick. He utilized steady leg kicks more and more, and that's always useful because people don't really think about them. And then he eats a straight shot as he circles in. And then in the third round, his kick is caught and he gets pressed to the fence, but he's able to reverse the clinch position and get him up against the fence. And then he gets the double leg, but Stargell's able to scramble out. And then he eats a right hook on the separation from the double leg attempt. But then he continues to land leg kicks, but then his kick is caught. Again, he gets taken down with the single, but he gets right back up and he's able to reverse the clinch position again. And just wins the fight on the decision. Not the most impressive performance, but as the fight goes on, the leg kicks really made the difference. And he sticks in there. Doesn't have a great first round, and it looks like Andre has a really good first round. It seems like Andre falls off, so I think Gilmore might be able to get it done in the next two rounds. Gilmore plus 385, Petrachi minus 525. This is a spot I don't like. They're both Ultimate fighters. And 525 shouldn't. That's a lot for anybody, and it's especially somebody coming off the Ultimate Fighter. You got to go with Gilmore here, in my opinion. The money's too good. Okay, then the third fight on the main card, you got Kevin Lee taking on Daniel Rodriguez up at 170. Kevin Lee, 155-pounder, been at 170 before, didn't go good for him. He's gonna try it again. He's been off more than a year. So, very interesting matchup here. Kevin Lee, his last fight, it was in March of last year. He took on Charles Oliveira. In the first round, he gets pressed, and he eats a front face kick from Oliveira. Then he pumps his jab, and he lands a 1-2, though. But he's able to land on top of a single tripped attempt from Charles. Charles tried to trip him, but Kevin's able to get on top. And then Charles has a leg lock, a heel hook attempt, and he scrambles. And then he gives up his back, and then another heel hook. And then he scrambles, but he finally lands a full guard. So they're basically just going back and forth because Charles initiates that heel hook scramble. A lot of action going on here, and Charles probably the best grappler in that division. So, but he's able to maintain a top position through a sweep attempt, and then he's able to fight off the triangle attempt from Charles. And then he lands some nice ground and pound at the end of the round. But Kevin Lee was technically in control, but he was scrambling for his life there. And he's getting noticeably more tired even after the first round. Then in the second round, he comes forward with a jab and then overhand right. He lands an overhand over Charles's jab. Then he lands an overhand, but he eats a counter overhand from Charles, and then he eats a straight right and then an uppercut. And then he starts getting pressed in this round, starts backing up, not initiating the action. Charles is doing all the initiating. He gets rocked with the uppercut, then both of them trade overhands, and then he gets a double leg off of the knee into full guard. Off of Charles, just throws a knee, and Kevin's able to catch it and get the double leg, and then he's able to get into full guard. He's able to fight off an armbar attempt from Charles. And then he gets the body, and Charles gets back up. Kevin's able to get the body lock and go back into half guard. So, he looks better this round. I figure it's, 1-1. And then in the third round, he lands a left hook and then a head kick. And then he lands an overhand right as Charles is moving forward. And then he shoots a single, kind of lazy, not necessarily desperation, but, I don't think Kevin really wanted to stand with him. He wanted to get him to the ground. Shoots a single leg, but he gets caught in a guillotine right away and gets submitted. His neck's just too far out there. Got a little careless, and, nobody really knew how good Charles Oliveira was. And that fight, they know now. So he just submits him. And then Daniel Rodriguez, his last fight, he took on Preston Parsons. In the first round, he eats a head kick as he's moving forward, but he stuffs a single leg attempt up against the fence. And then he lands a straight left. He's able to land a leg kick, and he pumps the jab. He stuffs another single leg. He eats left hook, and then a straight right in the exchange, however. But he lands a counter, straight left off of Preston's jab. Then he eats the jabs, and then a left hook, but he lands a hard straight left off of Preston's hook. And then he lands an uppercut and then hooks against the fence. And then he really starts teeing off on him with a straight left and then hooks and then a 1-2. And then he drops him with the right hook and then a straight left, and he's able to get the TKO. So, Rodriguez keeps moving forward. It takes a little bit of punishment, but his wrestling defense looked good in this fight. And, before that, he fought Mike Perry, and more, I think he looked really good in that fight. But I kind of already have my mind made up. And, it's not really great to do that, but I just have a feeling about this one. Rodriguez plus 130, Kevin Lee is minus 150. This is going to be more about the intangibles, in my opinion, than the actual fight mechanics. Kevin Lee hasn't fought in over a year, coming off of surgery. He's moving up weight class. Daniel Rodriguez has looked really good. He just beat Mike Perry, just dispatched Preston Parsons. Rodriguez is no pushover. And, he's an underdog. My pick here is Daniel Rodriguez. I think you have to. Fight. On the main card, you got the bantamweight finale. Ricky Turcios taking on Brady Heiston. Turcios took on Ludwig Sholinian his last fight, and this was just a banger fest. Turcios likes to bury his head and swing. We'll see if it pays off for him, but I thought he looked pretty good this fight, personally. First round, he pumps a jab, he lands a leg kick, and he lands a body kick, and then he throws combinations, lands a straight, and then a double up against the fence. He doesn't get the double, but he's able to keep the clinch and control the pace, and then he lands a head kick in the open space, and then he gets a clinch, and then he lands a head kick, and then a flurry toward the end of the round there, and then the second round, he gets taken down with the double from space in the full guard, but he gets back to his feet on the fence, and Turcios, he's always moving on the ground, throwing elbows, throwing an armbar triangle, just trying to get up or create a submission. He's always active, doesn't stop moving, and then he lands a 1-2, and then he shoots a single, but he gets reversed, but then he's able to reshoot the single. But Ludwig gets back control with one hook, and they're kind of up against the fence. But then, however, he gets back to his feet, but he gets taken down again. But he rolls, and then he scrambles up to his feet. He's able to get free, and then he lands the right hook on the fence in the firefight. And then in the third round, I figure it's 1-1 at this point. The third round, he comes forward, he lands a 1-2, shoots a single, but it gets stuffed. But then he tees off on him against the fence with hooks and elbows, and he eats a body shot as he's throwing. But then he lands a few 1-2s, and he lands a counter right cross, and then he just keeps landing those 1-2s, and then he eats the right hook at the end of the fight. But, just keeps pressuring forward. There's a big firefight at the end of the fight. I think he got the better of the firefight. His fight before that, a couple firefights. I think for the most part he gets the better of the firefight. So he's a little crazy, but he looked really good there. Got the victory and really pulled out in the third round. This guy's not going to get tired, and that is huge. Brady Heiston, his last fight he took on Vince Murdoch in the semifinal. In the first round, he lands a head kick and then shoots a double on the fence and gets full guard and lands ground and pound, and then he's able to take side control, and then he's able to get the back mount and then just land heavy ground and pound and get the TKO. Not too much to it. Heiston's a great wrestler, and he really showed it. But then the fight before that, his wrestling wasn't as effective. He had to work a lot more forward. He took on Josh Reddinghouse. In the first round, he rushes the clinch, and then he stuffs the trip attempt with a whizzer kick, and then he lands a 1-2, and then he gets the clinch up against the fence. So he tries to rush in for the clinch. It doesn't work out for him like it did in his last fight, but he's able. His defense is decent, and then he lands a 1-2 with the clinch up against the fence finally, and then he gets the double, and then he gets back control to the rear naked choke position, and then he lands back on the feet. He lands knees to the body in the clinch, but he gets taken down with a single leg. and then back on the feet again. He gets taken down again, but he's able to scramble out, and then he gets around the back and gets some ground and pound toward the end of the round there. So his defense is decent, a little more aware this time. In the second round, he lands 1-2, and he gets the clinch and then back control from a double leg, but he eats a head kick as he's lunging forward. But then he eats a jab and a straight right as he's moving forward too, and then he eats uppercut and jabs. Just getting a little careless, stalking forward, and Tertius gets the better of the fights, and Hassan gets pieced up a little bit. But then he shoots a desperate takedown, and he gets stuffed, and then he eats knees to the body in the clinch, and then he eats right cross, and he shoots against the fence, and he's able to get back control, and then full guard, and he's able to fight off the triangle attempt, so at least he ended the round on top. Then in the third round, he lands a jab from range, lands a straight right, but he eats uppercut, and then he eats uppercut as he's moving forward. Murdoch was really good. That was his move, hitting him with the uppercut, so he's susceptible to that. He'll leave yourself a little bit too separated. He lunges a little bit too far. But then he gets taken down, but he gets back to his feet relatively quickly, and then he gets a single leg to back control, and then he's able to maintain back control throughout the scrambles. Mat returns. He's able to roll with Murdoch, and he ended their fight pretty well, but he did get pieced up in the first couple rounds for too much for my liking. You take a look at the odds, and Hassan is plus 135. Tertius is minus 155. This is a close one. Tertius is a little more careless, a little more crazy. But I think Hassan's going to have a really good first round. But I think Tertius is going to be able to turn it up the next two. And, I think, Tertius' wrestling isn't bad. His defense isn't terrible. But I think he'll probably get taken out in the first round. His second and third round, I think he'll be able to start defending. Tertius will be able to get his own takedowns. And then if they have any firefights, I think Tertius wins those. I think Hassan may hit harder, but Tertius hits more, and he brings the pace. My pick here is Ricky Tertius. And then in the co-main event, you got the 185 finale. You got Brian Battle taking on Gilberto Bena. Battle, his last fight, he took on Petrachi. And in the first round, he eats the 1-2, and he gets pressed to the fence with a double. But then he lands right hook as Andre rushes in. He defends a single leg and lands knees to the bodies in the head. However, he gets taken down with the single, and he gives up the back, and he eats ground and pound. So that wasn't good, but he did some good work before that, and it was the first round. And in the second round, he lands body kicks. Then he lands a head kick and then a straight right. He's a counter lefty in the exchange. But then he lands knees to the body in the plum tie. He likes to utilize that. And then he gets taken down, but he gets back to his feet. And then he gives up back control standing. But then he gets the submission with the Darce choke. So, I already talked about that fight. But, Petrachi just got a little overzealous and left his neck out there. And Battle was able to reach behind and go for that Darce. And it was beautiful. And then Gilberto Bena, his last fight, he took on Trace and Gore. In the first round, he lands a straight right off of the kick. He comes forward and lands a jab and then a right hook, but he gets dropped with a short left hook. And then he lands left hook to the body and then straight right. However, he eats a jab at range, and then he eats a knee to the body, where he lands a knee to the body and then a right cross on Trayshawn. And then, he eats overhand right, and then he stalks, and he eats another jab. He's moving forward a little too much, a little too careless for my liking. He lands a leg kick, but then he slips a right cross, but then he eats a jab from Trayshawn, and then he gets dropped to the right hook at the end of the round, and he's rushing in. So he gets dropped a couple times. It's not like he was really hurt, but he gets dropped, pops right back up, but still getting rocked. Doesn't take damage that well. And then in the second round, he lands a jab and then a head kick, and then a leg kick. But then he eats a right hook and a jab against the fence. And then he gets knocked the fuck out with a short left hook as he's rushing forward. And he's basically getting knocked out with jabs, short hooks. He's really walking right into these punches. He can't take damage very well. I think he might be the more technical fighter because he does look good on his feet. Throws nice jabs, throws leg kicks. But, so I think Urbina will have a good first round. I think Battle will take over the next two, and Battle always has submission threats. Take a look at the betting line. Urbina plus 150, Battle minus 170. Don't really love that price on Battle, but I just have a feeling about this one. Urbina really shouldn't even be in this fight. I think Battle's just going to find a way to get it done. His wrestling defense is pretty good. And then, I think the striking, he'll be able to piece up Urbina a little bit, maybe cause some unexpected damage. Close one, I'm not really too sure about it, but my pick here is Brian Battle. Our main event, you got a very important fight at featherweight 145. Edson Barboza taking on Giga Chikadze. Big implications for either guy to win. Giga Chikadze wins, you know, he's the next big thing at that weight class. Barboza wins, he stays alive, he's going to get highly ranked guy next, and he's going to probably make a title run. Barboza took on Shane Burgos' last fight. Crazy fight, lots of action, great fight. First round, he lands leg kicks as Burgos advances. He started throwing those leg kicks early. He's landing them hard. I like that. However, he eats a body shot, but he lands a straight right, and then he eats right hooks, but he's able to cover up, so they're not doing that much damage to him. He eats left hook to the body as he's exiting the fence, but then he lands a body kick. He eats a left to the body and a straight right, but then he eats a right and then a left hook as Burgos crashes forward, and then he eats a jab, but then he lands a spinning back kick to the head, and, you know, it landed flush. Yeah, it's a legit technique for him. It works. He doesn't just do it to be flashy. So it's something to look out for. He's very surprising. Then he lands a right hook, and then he rocks him with a straight right, and then a counter 1-2, and then he lands multiple leg kicks down the round. Then the second round, he lands a jab and then a leg kick, and then he lands a spinning back kick to the body this time. However, he eats a straight right and then a leg kick, but then he's able, eats a straight right, but he's able to land a leg kick and then a double jab on Burgos. But then, and then he's able to land a counter left hook. He eats left to the body, but then he lands another back kick to the body, but he eats left to the body after that as a counter. But he eats a jab as he's moving in, and then a leg kick. But then he lands a left hook to the body, and then the head, and then he lands a right cross. But then he eats a body shot arranged in the round. So, you know, I think it's 1-1. I think Barboza clearly won the first. Burgos squeaked out the second. Then in the third round, Barboza turns it on. He lands a leg kicks as Shane moves forward, and then he just lands a routine 1-2. Nothing crazy. Right hand over Burgos' jab, and then, you know, you have that crazy delayed reaction. It's like, you know, 5-6 seconds after Barboza hits him, Burgos just wobbles and falls over and gets knocked out. So I don't know if it's something up with Burgos, but Barboza looked good. And he still knocked him out, no matter what happened. You know, he hit him, knocked him out, so he looked really good. Burgos is a tough guy. Then Chikadze, his last fight, he took on Cub Swanson. Not much to talk about here. First round, he lands a jab as Cub rushes forward, and then he lands a body kick and then just gets a TKO. Lands that left leg body kick. And then before that, he took on Jamie Simons. First round, he's able to get out of the clinch attempt. He's able to stuff it. Simmons comes in hard with that clinch, but Chikadze's able to stay strong and then just circle out of it and, you know, let Simmons know that he's not going to play that and he's not going to get caught up in the clinch with him. But then he gets clinched to the fence, but he knows he's okay there, so he kind of just relaxes there. But he's able to wizard kick and then he's able to get out. He eats a straight right from Simmons, but then he lands a body kick and then the head kick, and then gets a TK, gets the knockout victory. Lands a body kick, Simmons resets, and then he goes up again for the head kick and just gets a knockout with the same leg. You know, beautiful stuff from him. Not the highest of opponents, but, you know, Giga really hasn't fought anybody real except Cub Swanson, so it is what it is. But he looked amazing in these fights, gets a knockout, can't ask too much of him. It's not his fault he hasn't fought anybody. Betting line, basically even. Chikadze, -105. Barboza, -115. You know, I think there obviously is more to it, but Chikadze's kind of like a one-trick pony. I mean, you know, he's a complete fighter, don't get me wrong, but he's really looking for that leg kick, you know, the left leg kick to the body or the head. And, you know, Barboza has leg kicks of his own. I don't think it's going to work on Barboza. You know, I think Barboza's going to bring the pressure to him. He's going to kick him in the legs. He's going to, do all those crazy spinning back kicks. He's going to jab him up. I think, you know, Chikadze's just going to be a beat behind here. Very close fights, but, you know, there's really no value on either guy. So my pick here is Edson Barboza. He's been proven. He's a veteran. He's been around. He's seen it all. Got to go with Barboza. All right, everybody, thank you. I appreciate it. We got a fun weekend of fights. We got this card, which is pretty good. And then you got PFL Friday, I believe, the finals of that. And then you got Jake Paul versus Tyron Woodley. Like I said, I'll try to do something for that. It's going to be really, really awesome. Big fight for MMA versus boxing, pretty much. I'm not too big on those freak show fights, but I mean, you know, Tyron is our guy. We got to ride with him. It's going to be awesome. But anyway, I appreciate it. Hopefully, win some money, get a lot of these picks right. Hopefully, all of them. But it's what it is. Should be a fun card, interesting card, kind of a tough card because, literally a tough card because you have a lot of those guys from the Ultimate Fighter. You know, we haven't really seen what they've done in UFC. But, you know, it's awesome that they brought that show back, and you're going to get some new superstars off of that, which is always good. Anyway, please leave a comment below. Let me know if you're going to watch Jake Paul Taiwan Woodley fight. Let me know what you think. Agree with me, disagree with me, whatever. Let's get into a conversation about it. I don't care. You know, let's keep talking about the sport. Keep talking about the combat sports. Follow me on Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat. Do recaps for the fight. Appreciate it, guys. Thanks for riding with me. Let's win this money, and let's have fun this weekend.